All right, welcome back to the channel. So Terence Crawford is being full press clout chased by Golden Boy Promotion and Oscar De La Hoya, who is trying to push a fight between he and Virgil Ortiz, when the truth is that Jarron Ennis is probably a lot more better suited and more developed for that fight, and Virgil Ortiz has a long way to go, although he is an excellent prospect. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. So in this video, we're going to talk about Virgil Ortiz, who's a young up-and-coming fighter in the welterweight division that had an excellent fight this weekend against a very tough veteran, former champion in Maurice Hooker. In the fight, Virgil Ortiz showed me that he is everything that I thought that he was, that he is a tremendous prospect in the sport, that what Robert Garcia says about him, I'm buying. And what Robert Garcia said, the trainer of Mikey Garcia, brother of Mikey Garcia, one of the best trainers in the world, what he said about Virgil Ortiz was that in 2 or 3 years, this guy will be ready to compete and beat anybody in that weight class. And I do believe within 2 to 3 years that very well could be the case, because Virgil Ortiz has a skill set. He has all the talent in the world. He's got the size, he's got the aggression, he's got everything that he needs, other than some maturity in his game, being able to fight at more than just one speed, right? Being able to show different looks. What I saw over in the last few fights that I watched with him is a kid that is just big and strong and can roll pretty much over anybody, right? That is in the ring, that he's been in the ring with. And that's what I think we saw with Maurice Hooker. Now, Maurice Hooker being an excellent fighter, and again, I am taking nothing in this video, I'm taking nothing away from Virgil Ortiz and his performance. I think that was an excellent performance over Maurice Hooker. Before we get into the rest of it, though, I've got to put this plug in here. Please make sure that you attend the live streams that we do Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. and also support over on the Instagram. Follow us on the Instagram. The super chats and things that we receive from the live streams are what we use to fund the promotion of fighters. We promote amateur fighters, female fighters, foreign fighters, up-and-coming American fighters over on the Instagram page. I think you'll really enjoy the video quality. So make sure you support those two things. But back to the subject matter of the video. Virgil Ortiz is absolutely a terrific prospect. Now, after the fight, though, and before the fight, there's a lot of conversation about him fighting Terence "Bud" Crawford. Terence Crawford, who was the WBO 147-pound champion, was a champion at 135 pounds, was a champion, undisputed champion at 140, and has now been reigning as the WBO champion for several years. You know, a guy that is, 33, 34 years old, seasoned vet, been there, done that. There's a lot of things that people can say about, who he's fought at the welterweight division, because, there's a really big fight that we're looking for out of Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr., right? However, when you look at where Terence Crawford is in his career, and you look at where Virgil Ortiz is in his career, that those two guys fighting would be a mismatch, number one, right? Just a flat out mismatch. And it would be terrible for the career of Virgil Ortiz, because Virgil Ortiz is going to get beat up, man. And I don't think he's going to get beat up in the way, or beat in the way that, say, a young Canelo Alvarez lost to Floyd Mayweather Jr., where it was like, oh, we'll just chalk that up to experience. He's learned, that was the great Floyd Mayweather. What they did to Canelo to kind of cover up the fact that he got a shellacking and a one-sided whooping by Floyd Mayweather Jr., right? In this particular instance, I don't see it being some 12-round thing, right, where Terence Crawford wins every round. I see it being a humbling defeat by knockout to Terence Crawford, because Terence Crawford just has so many wrinkles in his game that I have a very hard time believing that even if Virgil Ortiz had all of the physical skills in the world to beat him, which, I'm sure people that are proponents of that fight think that he has, right? He's bigger. He's stronger. The eye test tells you he's stronger. I don't know if he's stronger or not. Terence Crawford is a very strong guy, but he hits harder, right? He's got that aggressive pressure style. All of those things you could look at and in a vacuum and say, yeah, when you match him with Terence Crawford, hey, yeah, that would be his best opportunity to do it, right? And then you also think, because, and this is something that was mentioned by Oscar De La Hoya, and I do believe it was mentioned by Robert Garcia, and that said, the political situation necessary that you have to travail in order to get to a championship. They say, well, the WBO system is a lot more conducive, it's more conducive to us winning the championship, because the PBC fighters who can really control the division, control the IBF, the WBA, and the WBC belts. So they felt like, at least that they're saying, is it makes more sense to get in line in the WBO line and then push the fight with Terence Crawford. Now, why are they actually doing this? Because just truth be told, there's no way this fight's going to happen, right? There's no way. Terence Crawford is saying, look, you got to earn the fight, right? Like, you got to earn that fight, and you're not ready. Looking at what Maurice Hooker was able to do with him on the inside, and the fact that when Maurice Hooker was close enough to him, where that the shots from Virgil Ortiz, not only do I think that Maurice Hooker saw them all and was able to deflect them, but when he was hit, he was able to take those shots. And Maurice Hooker is not known as somebody that really has a tremendous chin on him, right? So Terence Crawford looking at that is like, yeah, I can slip inside of that. I'm going to hit him with something, and I definitely see him coming with those uppercuts. So, I understand that, the conversation going on around the fight, right? Because the conversation around the fight is good for everybody. It's good for me. I get to get up early in the morning and talk about fighters that I really like, and Virgil Ortiz, Errol Spence, and Terence Crawford. Golden Boy gets what they want, which is Virgil Ortiz's names in boxing headlines and being talked about as a real contender who may be looking to face Terence Crawford. But, that's about all that is a way to say, oh, let's start pushing the name of Virgil Ortiz. Let's push him next to Terence Crawford. And then, so people can kind of, get a gauge and think, well, yeah, Virgil Ortiz must be one of the best welterweights because, hey, he's up and in a position where he's going to fight, where he could be fighting Terence Crawford. But here's my thing. I don't even think Virgil Ortiz is the best prospect at welterweight. That's his age. The best prospect at welterweight that's his age is, in my opinion, is Jarron Ennis. So, like, for Virgil Ortiz to go all the way up to the title, to a title shot, even if he say he could get it, I would be like, look, man, I don't think he could cherry pick Terence Crawford, but just assume for a second that Terence Crawford is really vulnerable to him, right? Well, even if he beat Terence Crawford, that still doesn't mean he's better than Jarron Ennis. And see, that's the type of fight that I would love to see. I would love to see a Jarron Ennis versus Virgil Ortiz fight before those guys actually get to it, before or for a championship, I guess could be a good way to do it. But, get a fight between those two guys when they're young, when those guys hit their prime, so that we can see what those guys can be. And there is precedent for that happening before, and that was with Roy Jones Jr. and Bernard Hopkins. They fought very early in their career. I do believe Roy Jones was undefeated. I think Bernard Hopkins might have had one loss that he had gotten early in his career, but those guys got together and had a fight that is a classic fight between the two of those that happened early in their career, way before anybody would have said, oh, no, let's not make these fights happen because, Bernard's going to be a superstar. Roy's going to be a superstar. Let's wait around for it. They didn't wait around for that, and as a result, we got a really, really good fight that's out there that, man, in nowadays, the way that they set up the fights wouldn't happen. So the long and short of it is, I appreciate what Oscar De La Hoya is doing with pushing the name of Virgil Ortiz out there. I do believe Virgil Ortiz is everything that they're selling him to be. Without a doubt, in a couple years, he could be the top welterweight, could be the top 154 pounder. He has got a great trainer, and I'm sure that trainer is going to tighten his game up, is going to give him an approach to really handle these top guys. But at the same time, when you have somebody like Jarron Ennis standing right there, those guys are going to be coming up together. And that is the next, Errol Spence, Terence Crawford type of mega fight that can be made. But anyway, that's my take on the scenario. You let me know what you think. And with that, I'm out. Peace.